Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Friday, June 27th, and we're going into a new section of Hebrews chapter 5. And this says, the subtitle here is The Warning Against Apostasy. Now, apostasy is when you already have a relationship with Christ and you kind of, I don't know if turn your back is the right way to say it, but you move away from that. You intentionally move away from that. The Cultural Study Bible had a note that covers Hebrews 5:11 all the way to Hebrews 7:28, and this is what it says. The author warns that his audience's biblical knowledge is too basic to understand his entire argument in this section. That's verses 11 to 14. Nevertheless, he plunges into it, warning that they must press beyond the basics so they can be sure to persevere. And that's in chapter 6, verses 1 through 12. So what we've got here is the author is saying, yeah, you've only got those elementary teachings. You've only got the basics, but you have got to push yourself to get to that next level. Verse 11 says, and about this we have much to say, and it is hard to explain since you have become dull of hearing. Dull of hearing means you're kind of tuning things out. Think about a knife that is dull. It's no longer penetrating. It's no longer getting through. If you're dull of hearing, what's being said to you is not getting through because you've kind of tuned it out. Cultural Study Bible said this, speakers and writers often warned that they were simply offering a portion of the vast evidence that could be offered. So what this author is basically saying here is there's a lot to say. What we're about to say is difficult to explain, and it's even more difficult to explain because you're not paying any attention. Verse 12, for though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. Okay, so think this through. This is going to give us this analogy throughout of milk and not solid food. Think about a baby. A baby starts off with breast milk or formula. That's the only thing they can consume. It's the only thing that their body can handle. Their body can't take the deeper things. Then the baby, as the baby grows, starts to eat baby food. And it's pureed and it's there's no pieces in it whatsoever. And then gradually it becomes more and more solid food. Eventually you get to the steak and potatoes. What this is talking about is you should be maturing in your faith. You should be getting off of that breast milk or formula, and you should be getting to the steak and potatoes. In fact, we should have a strong desire to get to the steak and potatoes. The ESV, or the Cultural Study Bible, said that had this note. It said, many ancient teachers recognized the value of beginning with the basics. Nevertheless, sages often complained that their students were slow to understand, or that by now they should be teachers. And these elementary truths, the Greek term here could apply to something as simple as the alphabet. The writer lists such basic teachings in verses 6, 1 through 2. You need milk, not solid food. Teachers spoke of giving milk to elementary students as if to infants, but solid food to more advanced disciples whom they considered mature. Here we go with verse 13. For everyone who lives on milk is skilled in the word of righteousness, is unskilled in the word of righteousness since he is a child. Because we're only on that spiritual milk, you don't completely understand the power and the majesty, the glory of what God has done in your life and who you are in Christ, your identity in Christ, your authority in Christ, and how that relationship works with you. Verse 14, but solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. Okay, so what's this distinguish good from evil? The ESV Fire Study Bible said this, those who are weak and immature in their faith lack spiritual sensitivity and discernment about what is good and what is evil. what honors God and what dishonors him. So you're better able to follow God when you get to that solid food. And that's where we need to go. You're making a great step just in listening to these videos, doing any kind of Bible study on your own. We need to be involved in churches, and we need to be talking with other believers and learning from each other so that we can discern this is something that's in obedience to God, and this is something that is not in obedience to God. We need to grow. We need to get to those steak and potatoes. Today is Friday, so I'm going to remind you there's no video Saturday, Sunday, but I'll be back with you on Monday. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.